I first want to ask you about. I saw you had some interesting tweets yesterday about the Minnesota Timberwolves and a certain point guard for the Timberwolves, Jeff Teague. I kind of looked up and watched, but tell me in your words what happened. What was going on?
Well, I'm just watching and I'm just thinking, here's this new point guard we paid a bunch of money for, Rush to sign, and he's supposed to be, leading this team. And there are three dogs on this team that can score. You got Wiggins, you got Cat, and you got Jimmy Buckets. And then you got T, who should just be dispersing. The guy should average 10 assists a game, right? These guys are going to score easy. And here he is out there playing against his old team. All the motivation in the world. They chose to go with Dennis Schroeder over him, or Schrader, whatever.
Yep,
and they pick him over Jeff Teague. And he goes out there and lays it done. 1 for 12. He missed more shots than our all-star, Karl Anthony Towns, took. And Karl Anthony Towns was 6 for 8. They didn't have anybody that could guard him, but do you think Jeff Teague recognized that and got him the ball on the post? He's supposed to be in charge. He's the captain. He's the leader. And here he is chucking up shots, missing floaters, and I tell you what, part of it is part of my hatred. He's probably not as bad as I think he is. Part of my hatred is I love Ricky Rubio. Now, Jeff Teague is better than Ricky Rubio, but Rubio might fit better on the Wolves because he didn't need to shoot to be effective.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think, and you can look at the plus minuses, we just run better with Tyus Jones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we're considered one of the worst benches in the league, and yet Tyus plays with that bench and still has better plus minus than Jeff Teague does with our starters, who are considered very strong.
Yeah. I watched somebody made a low light video of Jeff Teague yesterday. Had all of his missed shots, all his turnovers. But the one thing, like the missed shots and turnovers, those are easier to kind of forgive and kind of move on. But watching some of his defense, he just let whatever Dennis just go right past him and didn't even
go right by him.
It wasn't it made me mad too. I'm like, why? Yeah, why? And I've been following. A lot of people are saying we need Tyus to get more playing time and to start.
And what you're saying, physical mistakes, yeah, that happens. But mental mistakes, like at the end, we're down, I don't remember, 1, 2, or 3 with the ball, and he gets 5 seconds to call the inbound.
Yeah, and then try to call timeout. And then that one pass to Butler, that made no sense. Like it was
Butler, the guy's just fronting him, and I'm just like, okay, you're just throwing it to him, right to the Atlanta guy.
All right.
I was livid. I'm ready to cut him.
We'll get back to more professional sports in the end, but I first want to ask you, and I've been wondering this ever since I said we were going to do this. So I want to ask about how your parents met, because your dad is a Packer fan and your mom was a diehard Viking fan, both diehards. Why did you end up a Packer fan?
Well, when my dad was growing up watching TV, he was born in Indiana, and pretty much the only channel, or at least mainly the only team that was on consistently was the Packers in that area. And so, because it was the Baltimore Colts, not the Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
So he grew up watching the Packers. I grew up, I don't like to admit it, there are pictures out there of me in Vikings apparel, like for Halloween when I was like 3.
Mm-hmm.
That's going against my will. My dad did that. He let my mom win. But I would say right when I could start to really grasp what was going on, 5, 6, 7 years old, to kind of understand the game, I'd watch with both my parents, but I would mainly watch football with my dad, even when I didn't quite understand. And when I start to fully grasp it, the Packers were in consecutive Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of made it pretty easy because they kept playing, and I'm just still watching with my dad, and I just remember it's a big deal they won. I honestly remember my most vivid memory, like my first memory, is more the Packers losing to the Broncos in the Super Bowl. Because I was a big Freeman fan, and they were huge favorites, and they blew that game. And so I remember being crushed by that. But that's kind of how it happened. And at that point, I was kind of pot committed, and converted a few of our friends over along the years as well to the good side. Yeah. So
who all have you converted? I'm sure Derek is one.
Derek is for sure one. I would, it goes back and forth. I think I kind of converted Matt Snorik a little bit. I guess I don't know for sure. I know I for sure converted Derek.
Oh yeah, I don't see that at all. And you must have missed Michael. I don't know how that happened.
Well, Michael's just a wild card. He goes from Browns fan to like a Bengals and then 2 Rams. He has stuck with the Rams. I'll give him that.
Yep, you got to give him
He
credit for
finally
that.
settled in. But I mean, how do you go for a Titans? He was a Titans fan at the time. I think he was a big McNair fan.
Oh, Mike. The other question is how you got your fandom. Why are you a Kansas basketball fan?
I had my Kansas Jayhawk polo on for work today. Big win over Kansas State. But then again, they're just kind of like the little brother.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of a pipsqueak. You just got to kind of hold them off. They think that they're something, but they're not.
Yeah, hey, I got a younger brother. I know what it's like. Every once in a while they win, whatever, but for the most part,
Yeah, whatever. In the grand scheme of things, you're never winning national titles. You're not hanging banners. You're not winning conference championships. I mean, it's whatever, But that was actually another buddy right across the street, Nick Hammer.
Mm-hmm.
His dad owned a Zephyr hat store.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
He would bring back boxes of defective hats. And I would get to go over and pick like any hat I wanted. And I found this black Kansas hat. I had kind of a big head, still do. Fit like a glove. And all that was wrong was it was just like a little nick. Like a little nick. You couldn't even tell. It's just a black hat. So I put that thing on. I was like, you know what? Kind of like this logo. Started paying attention, and Kansas was good. And it kind of just stuck.
So did you even know that they were good before that hat?
Nope. Obviously, pretty much everybody's either a Gopher, a Badger, or there are a lot of North Carolina Duke fans still.
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm not doing North Carolina or Duke. I'm not like huge into Minnesota or Wisconsin or Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, I had that hat and I started watching. I was like, this is a thing. I'm a Kansas fan.
That's a good story. I didn't know that. All right, so let's get into you actually playing sports. What was your first? I know you said you had some first memories of watching football with your dad. What was your first sport memory of like actually playing? Was it t-ball or was it playing football in the backyard with dad?
Yeah, probably playing not football but baseball in my backyard. My dad would toss me just like wiffle balls. I hit it with a wiffle bat.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's the bigger one. I just remember hitting that in the yard a lot. Playing catch with the football with my Uncle Dennis. Actually, with the Nerf football that had the whistles.
Yep, I have one of those.
I need one of those. I need to order one of those online. Those are fantastic. So we'd even play at night. Like he'd throw it up in the air, like out in the park, and I would just listen. Like he kind of knew how far away I was, but it was hard to see until it was like right in front of you. So you kind of listened for it. So that was kind of fun.
That's funny.
And I suppose my first like real play memory was me, Derek, and Tyler Smith stick turned a double play in t-ball, and parents and the kids were just vastly confused, and the first base coach of the parent had to go and tell the kid like on first, like, you're out too, like you got to go sit down.
Yeah.
And of course we're just like, we didn't even like sell. We're just like, no big deal. Like that's what we've been seeing on TV.
Yeah. That's funny because you guys are just like, well, yeah, that's just what you got to do, and then everyone else is just like, what? Well, what happened? I don't want to.
Yeah. So I mean, there's like 30 kids on both rosters.
Yep.
There's kids everywhere. And nobody understood but us. We're just like, yeah, let's go.
I remember t-ball. What was your first memory of me?
How cute you were.
Oh, stop it.
I think it was just playing football. I don't remember. I think you were on the green football team, I believe.
For flag football?
For flag football in 5th grade.
Yep.
And I was on the red, and you guys kicked some booty up and down the field all season.
I remember that team.
We scored 1 touchdown all year. I'm taking credit for it because I scored it, but we scored 1 touchdown and we got dominated. Because your dad was coach of the green team, I believe, too.
Yep.
And you had Melcher and Steinbauer.
We had Melcher, Steinbauer, Dean Ringenhofer, Casey Dean, and I remember sticking myself.
Yeah, and we just got absolutely worked.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was the year, and I know my dad talked about it in his, where I was center a few times, and A.J. Rohde was the nose tackle. And you remember, I was a pipsqueak all the way up until junior, senior year of high school. A.J. Rohde was never a pipsqueak in his life.
Never.
Had hundreds, probably of pounds on me, and I would just fall over and then...
Just fall over.
Yeah.
It worked.
Oh, yeah. Those are good memories. And then I was going to ask, because was it the year after that you were on, I can't remember what color you were. I thought you were like another red again, and you were the quarterback, and you always did a bootleg run, and you always would freaking score.
Yeah, I was on, I think we were orange that year.
Yeah, that's what it was.
and Josh Huff's dad
Yep.
was the coach.
Yep.
And we did a lot of bootlegs, and I would just run.
And I feel like
I used to be fast.
I was gonna say, those used to work, didn't they?
They used to work. They used to work. I honestly had one ref check me one time in the end zone to see if my flags worked. And I was just like, no, but I always liked that stiff arm since I was a kid. That just seemed to work. Kids didn't really know how to
I gotta
reach
say,
around.
I remember flag football, and I remember playing football in the backyard, and you'd throw that son of a bitch around.
Oh yeah, well, that's where I think I learned all the moves was your backyard.
Yeah, definitely.
The Jarris Field, just playing and catching, because there wasn't a ton of room to maneuver.
You had
to use your hand to swat things away.
It was pretty quick, yeah.
Stuff, so
yeah.
It was. I mean, that's where you learn how to play flag football, is in tight quarters, and I would consider all of us at the time we were pretty good athletes. So
yeah, definitely, yeah.
It was no easy task.
Mm-hmm. Well, I gotta say, my first memory of you, because I remember I was friends with, I was in the same kindergarten class as Stick in kindergarten, so I kind of knew him there. Then Derek was in my class, Mrs. Vitvid, in 3rd grade, and I kind of got to know him, and then I knew he was your friend. It kind of went that way, and I remember recess 3rd grade for football. I don't know how this happened, just maybe because you were the best one. You were the captain, and you would pick the 5-6 guys on your team, and then you would say, all right, everyone else is whatever, and then you guys would always win. And I remember one time I went and asked, because I remember telling Mom, I want to play with them, like, it'd be fun. And then one time I remember I came up to you and said, hey, can I play? He's like, yeah, sure. And of course I go up there. I remember, like, it was Kyle Deco was the other quarterback all the time, and I remember...
Sam Van Wall could throw the ball around, too.
Who?
Sam Van Wall.
And for some reason, I remember Grant Goodell also playing quarterback.
Yeah, he played a lot of football with us.
Oh man, that was funny. How did that happen? Was it just because you were the best?
I don't know I don't think I was necessarily the best. I just think that I took command of it. I don't know.
That could be it too. But I would, if I had to vote for anyone, it was you were the best one, I thought. But
well, I appreciate that. But I just think it's because I was vocal, and I still do. Obviously, I'm just competitive. I was like, let's play. Let's do something. I don't want to run around on the monkey bar. Let's play some football.
Yeah. I remember one time, it was, I boast about this because it was the only 2 times I ever went to the principal's office in elementary school. Same day. First, in football, we were playing, and this is when, so it was in 5th grade, this is when we switched it up that we had even teams, 2 captains, whatever. Josh Huff was guarding me, or no, I was guarding Josh Huff. And you know the football rule. Within the first 5, wide receiver, defensive back, first 5 yards you can push and shove and whatever. Well, I did that because those are the rules. Josh Huff didn't think it was very fun. Went and told on me. We went to the principal's office, and we had a nice talking from Mr. Stansberry of, oh my God, I'm just playing by the rules. Like, yeah, that's the rules, but you can't, whatever. Literally, so that was like right at lunch. Later that day, I found out that I was nominated to be the president of the student council.
Boom.
So, and of course,
not only were you intelligent on the field, you were intelligent off.
Exactly. So now let's get into I know for me, and I'm guessing for a lot of people, when you think of childhood, I think of Sandlot. Mm-hmm. I want to talk about some of start thinking, I have some memories, but start thinking of some of your favorite memories or what you just remember.
Jeez. There are so many.
I know. The few that I listed, we found a golf ball. Derek hit it towards the school, and then he went to get the golf ball and hit it back to us, thinking, you know what? So everyone's going to watch, and nobody's going to get hit. Throws it up, hits it. It's heading right towards Caven. Caven's like, oh, it's not going to hit me. Oh, it's not going to hit me. Hits Caven right in the ankle. Drops him.
Seemed to hit Caven.
Yes, and I remember, I'm like, oh my gosh, he just got drilled, but that was so funny. I felt so bad, but that was so funny. And I remember Derek being so like, I'm so sorry, but like, how did that happen?
Yeah. That Caven was always tough, and he was a good sport about it.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, he was a good friend.
Some of the things I remember is Michael constantly, like, almost hitting the ball backwards. He was pulling it so much.
Yep, I remember that. Yep.
And so we constantly have to chase down the ball. I think we even thought about implementing a Michael Schwab rule, like you only get 3 fouls or something like that, like softball.
Yeah, like in slow pitching, yeah.
Yeah. We only needed one base and home plate. Second base was permanently worn in. Third base was the tree. Mm-hmm. And we didn't really need first base, but it was more just see if the
because there were more bang bang plays at first.
there
Yeah,
were so many bang bang plays at first. That's another thing I was gonna say. It was pretty much like I was out, no, you're safe. It was pretty much just took somebody from the other team and just be like, you know what, I don't care. He was safe.
that's exactly what it was. I remember playing times like I was safe, but then someone would say, "No, you're out," and I'm like, "Whatever," and just get over it.
Mike Sebring going to get one of his home run balls and about a 8-ounce dog barking and chasing after him and him running the fastest I've ever seen in his life.
I had that written down too. That was hilarious. I remember that. He was
hilarious.
so scared. I remember because what was it them or was it someone else that they were getting mad at us because we hit balls over, and they like
the tennis court,
we're playing tennis and yeah. For those that don't know, our sandlot ended up we used the fence of a tennis court as our like a home run. So there would be people playing tennis in the thing, and every once in a while we would ask them to go play because there's 2 sets and they would play in the one set. We asked them to play in the other one. Every once in a while they would say no, or they'd get mad at us for playing, and then every once in a while we hit a ball, but luckily nothing really happened. But it does remind me. I remember we were playing and they had the softball tournament and they kicked us out because they were worried that we were going to hit it whatever, and I remember we got mad and
that made a little more sense, but
yeah, I don't know if you were part of this. I remember sitting with Derek and I'm sure Michael. We talked about if we could buy that plot of land. If we could buy that square so we could. This is our property. You can't come. I remember sitting there talking about it, but
yeah, I don't think I was a part of that, but that cracks me up.
I remember. You remember when Tillman hit me with the bat?
Yeah, and I freaked out on him. I got really mad because he's throwing the bat. Like, Tillman was a super nice kid, but he just didn't quite mesh with us all. And I think I was frustrated enough that he was there and playing.
Yeah.
And then he did that, and I kind of went ballistic on him and kicked him off the field.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember your mom wasn't too pleased either.
No. Yeah. Well, I remember because Chris Cadu was there, so he was the older guy. So I remember hitting. I remember not it didn't hurt. I remember I got knocked to the ground. And I looked at my face and it was covered in blood. I'm like, okay, this isn't good. And I knew that my mom wasn't home. It was only my dad. And I knew my dad doesn't do well with blood. And I remember walking up when Chris was with me. And he said, "Yeah, we got an accident." And I remember my dad he almost toppled over, but he stuck it out. Yeah, that was. I was trying to think. Were there any other injuries? I think that was the worst.
Yeah, that was the worst out of the ankle thing. I mean, we used to rag, but I don't remember anybody really getting hit with a bat beyond that.
No.
I'm sure somebody rolled an ankle at some point.
Or I'm sure, how did nobody get drilled while they were pitching with a ball?
Pretty much everybody pulled it.
Yeah, probably that too.
And I don't think anybody, if they did, they didn't get hit in the face. I mean,
yeah.
Because we were just kind of lobbing it in there and then kind of almost backing up like softball.
Yeah.
You weren't you weren't following through with your pitches, really.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I just remember, and luckily for us, or me especially, right across the street, you just down the road. I remember the Wagners, Sheridan, Paul, they'd have to come all the way across town, but
From the country.
You
on
would.
his bike.
Yeah, those were, that's pretty crazy. We got so many people to come and play.
It was pretty much, as long as the sun was shining, it was 9 of 9, 31st pitch. Let's go.
Yeah, that was good. And then I also remember after pretty often we'd have MVP tournaments.
MVP tournaments because it was hot. It was summer. To cool off in the middle of the day, your mom would make some lemonade and have some cookies or something. And then sometimes we'd go out and play again, but most of the time we'd play some football then after that. But, yeah, I don't know if there was ever a greater game than MVP Baseball 2005.
Oh, yeah. Hands down the best. Now they're coming out with games they're good, but there was so much in MVP. And once again, I have so many memories of playing and having tournaments.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll be done with Sandlot. We'll go into backyard football. Talked about it a little bit, how it developed us as football players. Because it was such a small... And my brother has talked about this too. The reason why he was better at sports, I would say he's better at sports than I was, at least in high school, is because he got to play with older kids.
All of us, yeah.
And I said this before. I said it in my best man speech. He was never the worst one. He was always right in the middle of the pack for being and one memory that sticks out. My dad's rule. So we had flags. My dad stole flags from the Parks and Rec when he was a coach for the flag football team.
He's got every intent of returning those, I'm sure.
I'm sure, because I'm sure they're still in the bottom of our our ball bin. He said that you're supposed to pull the flags, but because my dad was usually the quarterback, if you picked him off, he got to tackle you. And I remember one time you, I don't remember, did he tackle you or did you get by him?
I think I deked him one time.
Usually,
He didn't go for the flag.
No, he was not going for the flag. He was going to put a grass stain on you. That was funny. Yeah, we were lucky enough. My dad was a college quarterback, and
that didn't happen often.
Yeah. He was an all right backyard quarterback, and I remember when we moved, our Caven's brother Coop said that someone's got to buy his house because this is the only house that has a football field in the backyard because we played in it so much. I remember we would mow to make it look like there was lines in the midfield and the touchdown, and I remember plenty of times, once again, mostly Caven running into his deck,
the stairs.
This is unrelated to football, but just Caven being Caven. We were on his trampoline one time, and he's doing flips and shit, and he goes too far, and he got his head stuck in the springs. And I remember that happening. And once again, I'm like, oh my gosh. Same thing. I felt the same way about when he hit with the golf balls I did then. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's got to hurt so bad. But that was so funny. And I remember looking at him. He was laughing and crying at the same time, and we eventually got him out. All right, now let's get into...
One more thing on that.
What?
When you scored a touchdown, you got to make sure you give Rick a little love.
That too.
You score a touchdown, you better be looking right back at your QB and you say, nice throw, Rick.
When I was in school in an intramural and I was the quarterback every once in a while, or even when I was wide receiver, whenever I got a good pass, I always would say good throw, whoever it was. And then when I was quarterback and made a good throw, nobody told me good throw. I'm like, come on, dude.
Give him a little back.
That's funny. So now let's get into actual sports that we played. We'll start with baseball. We'll start when you were a kid and also to like now, because I know you play Aces. Who did you idolize? Who do you like to watch growing up, and who do you like to watch who plays now?
For baseball, my favorite player for a long time was Christian Guzman. Goozy.
Yeah.
I mean, he played shortstop, which is where I like to play, and he was pretty good. I believe he made an all-star game or two. Solid player, and I also, obviously, I like Torrey Hunter a lot. Torrey he was always so nice, and he autographed something for me on my birthday too, so it made me like him all the more.
Mm-hmm.
So those were my two favorite guys. I just love those early twins, with Minkiewicz,
Koski, Jock Jones,
Dustin Moore, Bobby Kelty,
Brad Radke,
Brzezinski, Radke, Mays,
Eddie Gordado, yeah.
Eddie. Yeah, those are probably the glory days of my Twins memories.
I would agree, and also because those are the years that we won all the Central. Yeah. So what about now? Who do you like to watch? And it doesn't have to be Twins, but I mean Twins is.
Well, my favorite Twin of all time is Nick Punto. And he's a World Series champion. Nick Punto's the man.
Yeah,
he's my favorite of all time. He just did everything right. Everything he asked.
He could have hit a little better, but you know what?
He was a nine guy.
He made up for it in the field in the scrappy piranha play.
Yeah, and he hit like 250. Now we got guys on our team that hit 250, and we're just like, oh, thank goodness.
Right.
Just like, whatever. No love for Punto back in the day. Twin right now. I mean, I like Joe Mauer. I always have.
Yeah.
Pretty steady.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's underappreciated. Maybe he's a little overpaid, but at the time we had to make that contract happen. That was a must.
Yeah.
But up and coming Buxton is fun to watch. It's unbelievable how fast he is.
Very fun.
So he's kind of been the guy I've been keeping my eye on.
Why shortstop?
I liked shortstop because you were in charge of the infield, and by that I would say you're involved in a lot more plays than the outfield is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just always wanted the ball. And so you get the most, I would say, even still today, the most balls go to shortstop. So I wanted the ball. I wanted to be the one making those decisions. I was always, and still am, looking for creative ways to get guys out. Like, it's not always going to be the routine play. It might be a little pump fake at first, and guys running third, and got him. It's nothing better than that.
Mm-hmm.
Guy can have first base. I'm going to get the guy at third. So I think there's a lot of scenarios, and you get to, direct where if you want your second baseman here or whatever, they kind of just listen. And I just think that you're kind of in charge. And I guess I like that.
Let's get into high school. So I'm guessing if I ask you your favorite memory of high school baseball, I'm guessing it's going to be getting to state.
Yes, it would be in 11th.
Tell me about that season, because that was a season that I didn't play. So I know very little other than the fact that I know Paul hit the game winner to go to state.
Yeah, we...
Did you start the entire year?
No, I was a part-time player. I'd say I started a third of the games. And actually, even one half of those third, I was the designated fielder.
Oh, yeah.
Where somebody would even hit for me and the pitcher would hit for themselves. So I kind of been in my own position there for a little bit. But that team had a few, real good seniors on it. Cody Johnson, Neil Eady, Kyle Melcher, Brian Siebing. So we had some real good senior leadership. And then our class, the juniors, we were all solid baseball players. And so we filled in the gaps where necessary.
We can thank Sandlot for that.
Yeah. They were all Sandlot players. Paul was a contributor, Sheridan, Stick, Quinn. And so we had all that going. We didn't win the Big Nine. The Rochester John Marshall did. They were the number one team in the state, and they were, I believe, top 5 in the nation ranked. Like, they had won.
Oh, wow.
They hadn't lost all season until playoffs, and we upset them in the second round and made them have to kind of go the long way to get to the section championship, which they did, and we made it too. And they had to beat us twice. And I remember I started the first game. We pretended like Melcher was going to be the starter and try and go after the first one, and Melcher warmed up with Neil. And Sam Zappa, who was a sophomore at the time, warmed up with Dustin, or Quinn, I can't remember. And we threw Sam. And he walked the first guy, or the first guy got hit. I remember the first guy was on. Stick was at short. I was at second. And there was a ground ball right to Stick. Taylor made double play. We're going to get this. We're going to have some momentum. And he threw it over my head into right field. And the wheels came off in the first game. And they won. And then we brought back Melcher in game 2. And he kind of held them. It was a low-scoring game. I think we ended up winning 4-3. And Cody Johnson came in relief and threw 7 scoreless innings in relief. And we won. With 2 outs, Mitch Berg got hit by a pitch. Classic Berg. It's not a game until Berg gets hit. And he stole second because their catcher's arm was out of its socket. He couldn't hardly throw.
Oh, man.
Stole second, and then Paul drove him in, and we won in 12 innings. And so that was the only 2 losses for the number 1 team in the state all year were to us in the playoffs.
How'd you guys do in the playoffs? Or state?
We went to state. We lost a heartbreaker to Centennial, round 1. Melcher threw, and a guy for Centennial threw. I think he was a righty, but he went to the U of M.
Oh, wow.
He was a senior. Lost a heartbreaker there. Game 2, we beat Hopkins. So that was really cool. They were a really good team. And then we lost to Eden Prairie, our third game, 2 or 3. So we were competitive in all of them. And had we won the Centennial game, who knows? But just didn't work out in our favor, unfortunately.
What was the difference between that team and your senior year?
I think that year was maybe a little more top-heavy with those seniors, with Neil and Cody, Melch and stuff. I think our grade when we were seniors was just a great team. None of us were. None of us are hitting 10 home runs. None of us are hitting 500. We just pitched well. We played really good defense. Everybody knew where they were at, like you're saying from Sandlot. Everybody knew what everybody's capabilities were. We didn't kick it around. We pitched well. We ran the bases well. And everybody, top to bottom, just got along. Mm-hmm. We were all friends. There were 12 or 13 seniors on that team.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of unheard of. And almost all of them started, not too many juniors. started.
Mm-hmm.
Just a couple, I believe. Sam Zappa started.
Dalton would pitch every once in a while. Mike would pitch.
Dalton would pitch. Mike would pitch. Matt Simon was a sophomore then, I believe, or maybe even a freshman. And
he was a sophomore because he was Jake's age.
But beyond that, that was senior top to bottom pretty much.
Yeah.
And I think part of that too is a lot of us were the oldest child in our family.
Yeah.
And I think the continuity even spreads to our parents. Our parents were all so close and good friends because we were, and that was kind of like their first kid and their first experience with getting to know other families. And I just, from top to bottom, it all worked. We all loved the coaching staff, and they loved us, and it just really worked. And we won the Big Nine. So, we took that for the first time in 20 or 25 years since my dad won it. And so my dad and I think that we're the only father-son combo to win a Big Nine championship.
Might have to check the Wikipedia article on that, but yeah, there's a good chance.
So that was pretty cool. So.
Yeah, that's cool. We'll be done with baseball for now. We're going to football. How long did you play football?
I played through 8th grade year.
Then why'd you stop?
Well, I would say our grade had some pretty good quarterbacks. There was Sheridan, who ended up sticking it out the whole way. Tyler Smith was good. I thought I was pretty decent. Paul Satterlin was very good. And we had it split up, and Paul and I were on like the big team. They called it the big and little team, which is kind of like the A and B. Mm-hmm. And he was basically the starter, and I was the backup, but we'd both play 2 quarters, but he had what would be considered the better offensive line, the better running back, the better receivers. And I just got absolutely demolished, like, my whole 8th grade year. And the one time, it was towards the end of the game, the last game of the year, I went for a 3-step drop. I didn't even get to my 3rd step. I just get blasted in the back of my head. And I got up, and I was just like, I'm not exactly sure which bench is mine. So once I figured out I got to the right bench, I kind of went on a knee. I was like, I don't think I'm doing this anymore. So that was kind of the end of it. I kind of wish I would have stuck it out because I think that, the way Otana ran at the time, I maybe wasn't the best fit, running quarterback kind of thing, and I wasn't the fastest, but I thought I could throw the football around pretty well. I might have been more of a better fit. Now they run a spread and just throw it around the yard.
Yeah.
That might have been a better fit for me. And so I kind of had that in the back of my mind too. Mm-hmm. So.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to ask the same question about basketball, because when was your last year of basketball?
Last year of basketball was 9th grade.
And then why was that your last year?
That one is a little bit tough of a pill for me to swallow. I wish I'd have never quit basketball. I think that growing up, even up through 9th grade, basketball might have been my best sport. I wasn't not the fastest, but I was always kind of in the right position on defense. I knew all the plays. I knew what was going on. And I was a pretty good shooter. But I quit basketball because it got to be too much. They wanted you to play all year round.
Oh, yeah.
They wanted you on Sunday nights in the summer, go and play 3 pickup games and, and travel this and travel that. That's great. And that's good to develop your game, but I just didn't want to play basketball all year round. I really liked baseball. I was starting to like baseball more. Basketball was probably my favorite up until that point, and they just kept pushing and pushing. I just kind of said, that's just a little too much for me. So then I played intramural ball 11th and 12th grade year, and won it as a junior, which doesn't really ever happen. Our team won.
Oh yeah, I was on that team.
You were part of that team. That was a dogfight, and it was super fun. And then senior year, Walters was just on my case. Dean Walters was a 9th grade coach about playing for real. And because we would scrimmage the 9th graders. The Merle ballers would go and take on the 9th graders.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Rock their world. And I was just lighting it up, and Walters was like, you need to come and play. And I was like, all right, fine. I was like, if the team will take me, I will come back out. And this was maybe a month into the season. I don't remember the exact date. And the team got together, and they said they'd take me. They were going to sign me up, but I was like 3 days past the deadline to be a part of the roster, or for whatever reason. So that was honestly kind of a bummer. I was going to go back out, play a little bit my senior year like you did in baseball, and I missed it by just a little bit.
Damn.
So
Yeah.
that was kind of a bummer. I wish I would have never quit basketball, though.
Yeah, my ninth grade year, I was on the B team, and I would say for me, ninth grade was my best year because it was my first time. Because wasn't it sixth grade? Doc was the coach, and we were both on the A team. I think I was.
Yeah, Doc was my coach 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
Yeah, because in seventh grade I went to, I think his name was Darren. Do you remember him at all?
Coach Darren.
Not a fan of him. And then
Yeah,
eighth grade was
was.
Coach K. I liked Coach K, but my best basketball coach was Walters because I feel like he was the first one that actually cared and actually gave a shit about me because in being on the B team, people don't care that much about the B team, but he actually, I feel like I played the best. I remember it was Derek, Will Alberg, and I would do my Steve Nash floaters, I'd miss, and Will would get the rebound and put it in. Just that.
That's an assist.
Yeah, I kept saying if assists were missed shots and rebounds by, and I'm like, I had plenty of them.
Yeah.
And then I want to ask about college, because were you gonna go play baseball in college?
I couldn't decide for the longest time what I was going to do. I went to Bemidji State. That's where I started freshman year and lived with Spencer Busho. And him and I kind of looked around different places, and that's where we settled on. And about a week
Why Bemidji?
Well, I looked at Bemidji, Winona, Madison, North Dakota, South Dakota, Duluth. Went to Bemidji because honestly it was like, I love going up north fishing. This is what it is. Like, you're on the lake, it's Northwood pine trees, there's snow. I mean, it's cold. I like the cold. I don't like the heat. And it just felt right. And come to find out it wasn't. But I'll get to that. And so about a week before, I decided that I was going to try out. My baseball coaches, Tate Cummins, Jason Olstead, and Matt Scala were trying to convince me to at least walk on and try. And so then about a week before, I worked a lot with Jason Olstead hitting, and he hit me, I don't even know, like 1,000 ground balls. Like, because that's how I was going to make the team. And so went up there, decided to try out, had to scramble to get some stuff that wasn't all royal blue and look like an idiot out there. So I found some like black soccer socks, and I'm a high sock guy in baseball.
Oh, yeah.
You need to wear high socks. You need to look like a ball player.
Okay.
And tried out, and there was 82 people that tried out for the fall ball team, and I was one of 2 that made the fall ball team. So I was like, okay, this is great. I made the baseball team. I'm up here, and I don't think it was necessarily all the location. I think I partly maybe wasn't ready to be so far away from home. But it's like when you're at Bemidji, you're stuck there. You can't go anywhere else. You know, like, for example, you can't, in Owatonna, you can't go to Mankato. It's 45 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing in that. You're in Bemidji. That's it. Enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I don't think I was ready to be stuck like that. I needed to be a little more mobile. So only was there for one semester. So I didn't. My collegiate baseball career ended there. I went back home to Owatonna, went to Riverland for a semester, lived at home, and then went to Winona State my final 3 years of college.
I don't know if you know this. I applied to transfer to Winona at the end of my freshman year. I didn't get in because I took a math class, pre-calc, and it was a 5-credit class. I didn't take any calc. I maybe took pre-calc in 9th or 10th grade. I didn't take any calc in a long time. So I took the class and I failed it. I didn't pass because I just didn't get it.
Right.
In order to transfer, I needed 24 credits. I had 23.
Oh my gosh.
I was 1 credit away. I was 1 credit away from transferring, which in the long run, it's obviously okay but it's just crazy that it could have been 1, and also because Courtney went there. If I would have went there, she would have more likely. I mean, I can't guarantee it. There would have been a better chance that she would have stayed if I would have been there. Because she ended up meeting her husband and because she transferred to UNI, it would have been a big butterfly effect if I actually did. So that's just a.
And yeah, I mean, then I was there, and your brother came along, and your sister was there. And,
mm-hmm.
We'd have some family dinners without you. And
oh yeah. I remember getting some pictures. Yeah.
So and that's how. I mean, I was close with Jake growing up, I was way closer with you. But him and I became way, way closer once we went to school and college and stuff. So
Yeah.
that was great.
Yeah, I mean, eventually you were a groomsman in his wedding. That's pretty cool.
Yep, sure it was. It was a blast.
That was a good time. And then I want to ask, so when did you start playing aces? And explain what aces is to people that don't know.
The Aces, they're technically a semi-professional baseball team with no affiliation. That's just fancy for, we're not softball, but it's a wood bat league. It's a real thing. It's huge in Minnesota, town ball is. All these little population of 300 towns have a town ball team.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically a collection of the more skilled players that graduate each year come on to the Aces. So, our class had, I think, more than anybody else that is on the team: Stick, Sheridan, Quinn, myself. And right now, we're looking to take a couple seniors that played last year, and so it's just a collection of all those players that get together and form a team, and we play, everywhere in Waseca. It's just like varsity baseball.
Mm-hmm.
You play other teams, and then there's a section, it's called regionals, but a regional tournament, and then the state tournament is this huge thing, and I've read articles that it's like one of the top 10 bucket list sports things to see is the Minnesota Amateur Ball State Tournament, because it's just big. Yeah, it's this big deal, and for Class C, which is what we are, that means we can't have anybody outside of a 30-mile radius or 25-mile radius, and we can't have any college kids that weren't on Owatonna's varsity team. So there's only 2 people on the team, I believe, that didn't graduate from OHS. So that's also kind of really cool.
Yeah.
That's what that is. And I have been playing Aces. This will be my 8th year playing.
Wow.
So after I graduated, Tate Cummins, the varsity coach, asked me if I wanted to play, and I've been playing ever since. My goal is to play 10, so I'm hoping I got 3 years left. I haven't been too injured. I haven't missed too many games because of injury, but I'm also don't plan on ever being the guy that if I'm not, playing a lot or contributing, I'm not just going to sit there.
Yeah.
So, and my time will be up. Somebody's going to overtake me, and that'll be okay. So, but my goal is to be on the team and playing for 10 years. So
that's cool. All right, so we'll speed things up a little bit. I do have to ask you. I've heard my brother told me, are you going to be the assistant coach for the varsity this year?
I was an assistant varsity coach last year as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So this is going to be year 2.
How did that go last year?
It was good. We had some ups and downs, some turmoil with a few players, but that's just how it goes. I thought it was a great experience. I had a blast. I'm coming back. Just get to be around the game and the kids all the time. I'm getting older. I'm 26, but I still feel like a kid, playing and stuff. And I'm just hanging out with them. I feel like I'm just hanging out with some friends, teaching them how to field a ground ball. And it was super fun because, baseball was giving me so much, especially from the community. And, it's nice to give a little something back and teach some of the things that I got taught and, to be on staff with some of the coaches I had.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think that's really cool, and it just kind of comes full circle, I feel like, for me as far as my baseball career in the community, starting all the way from Little League and playing sandlot and then playing varsity, playing Aces, and now coaching all these kids. It's really, really cool.
Yeah. Do you see that sticking around, or maybe not with Owatonna, but do you think you're going to be coaching for a while?
Yeah, I plan to coach for a long time, and especially, right now in my life, it's time for me to do it. I don't have a wife. I don't have any kids, so it's really, really easy for me to make the time and give back. And I plan, I was born and raised in Owatonna. I kind of plan on being here potentially my whole life, so I could be a long-time coach. We'll see.
All right, now we'll get into actual sports. So what is your actual opinion of the Minnesota Vikings?
They are my second favorite team. I do cheer for them if they are not playing the Packers. or if it's not like week 15, 16,
And
17
it has
with the playoff implications where I kind of need them to lose and the Packers to win, which has happened. Thank you, Nathan Poole. And so, I cheer for him.
I want to ask what were you thinking? What were you experiencing in the playoff game against the Saints, and then the playoff game against the Eagles?
Okay, so my second favorite team and cheering for them. I am like hoping they win, but I'm not like if they score a touchdown, I'm not jumping out of my couch.
Yep.
If they get scored on, I'm not cussing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I knew that. I just know because you're a sports mind, football mind of.
Yep.
Yeah.
So here, what I think is, it was the Minneapolis Miracle. That thing, that's real. I thought it was a good play. I didn't think it was like a great play. I don't think that Keenum's throw was like all that difficult. He put it right where it had to be, but I mean, soft coverage. I think the best part of the play was Diggs catching it, turning and looking upfield, because I mean, in his mind, they don't have any timeouts. They should be stepping out of bounds.
Yeah.
He looked up and saw daylight and went. I think that was the most skilled and part of the play, and that was just being heads up. But then I kind of had a feeling that they were going to be in trouble going into the next week because of all the emotion in that game and all just the way it was celebrating. That you should celebrate. It was a great play, great win. And I just feel like it was going to be really, really difficult to match that emotion.
Yeah.
But then I thought I was completely wrong because they went down the field.
The first drive, nothing.
Like they're riding this momentum, and I mean, I thought, this is real. They're going to be going to the Super Bowl and playing at home. And I told my sister's the biggest Viking fan I know, Bria, and I was having supper with her last night, and I told her the Vikings aren't going to the Super Bowl because of Julio Jones dropping the ball in the end zone against the Eagles the week before. Because had he caught that and then the Vikings won, the Atlanta would have been going to Minnesota, and Minnesota was not losing at home.
No. Yeah.
So I just thought that, it was a great play and it was widely celebrated, and I just thought it was going to be tough for them to replicate that emotion. And how do you? That's such a high.
Yeah.
So I did not see 38-7 or whatever the final was. I didn't see that coming.
No. Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of where I was at with it. They deserve to win the Super Bowl. They've been in 4, I believe, which is almost as many as the Packers.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
But
who wins the NFC North next year, and how many NFC North teams make it to the playoffs next year?
If Aaron Rodgers plays 14 games, the Packers win the North. They would have won it this year had he not gotten hurt. He was on fire. I mean, the Packers were rolling, and had they beaten the Vikings, they would have been 5-1, and those 6 games were like the toughest part of their schedule. They would have, without being biased, I think a lock for 12 wins. A lock. And that would mean I would have predicted them to win at home against Minnesota. But I think that they could have won 13 or 14. They were just rolling, and they had their tough part of the schedule. So 14 plus Rodgers, if not the Vikings for sure. They're going to be 1-2. They're both going to make the playoffs. Excuse me. And that'll be it. Just those 2 from the North. Bears aren't ready, and the Lions are still the Lions.
Yeah, I was going to say, the Lions are still doing Lion things. So
they're the Motor City Kitties, and they just can't have nice things.
Yeah. All right, 2 more questions. Who is going to win the Super Bowl?
The Patriots.
Do you want them to win?
Yeah, I kind of like Tom Brady. I think he's legit, obviously, and I think he goes about his business the right way. Besides that whole Deflategate thing, which I don't know how much say he really has in it.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm cheering for them. I don't hate the Eagles players. I hate their fans.
Yeah.
They're awful. But what can you do about that? But if Philly hasn't won one, I wouldn't be mad if Philly won.
Yeah.
I know most Vikings faithful out there are definitely cheering for the Patriots, but this is one where I don't really care. Like if the Bears were in it, I'd be cheering for whoever was playing the Bears.
Yeah.
And I'm not like last year. I was cheering for the Patriots over the Falcons because I don't really like Matt Ryan. But this year, whoever wins it wins it. But I guess I wouldn't mind seeing Brady get another one.
All right, I want to ask you about your competitiveness, because if anyone knows you, you don't like to lose at anything.
I do not. That's correct.
Where did that come from? And then did that only apply to sports, or did it kind of bleed into school or like family, friends, relationships?
I think it came the most from my mom. She was
Interesting.
competitive. My dad's competitive, but he can let it roll off his back a little better than I think my mom could. And I think, I don't know, I got used to just winning things when I was little. I have two younger sisters, so anything I would do athletically against Bria, I would win.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's how it starts, and I'd win, or I'd beat her even in video games, you know. So that's how it started, and then, a lot more with Derek and Michael, and they might refute this, but I think I took them down whenever needed, 21 or whatever in the backyard. Yeah. So, and I didn't really get the competitive flair in school. I couldn't really, because it's like I'm not really keeping score kind of thing, but it definitely bled over into like anything, like board games. And you can attest, we've had some heated Monopoly battles.
Oh yeah, or I remember playing like poker and things get heated.
Poker, things get heated. Video games, things get heated. And that's probably me just being a little too amped up. I probably instigated a lot of that. But it's just like, if winning and losing didn't matter, why do we keep score? Lombardi said it best.
Yep.
So I don't know. I think that, and this might sound cliche too, but it's true. I hate losing even more than I like winning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just don't feel good when I lose. And I can say that I have tempered off a little bit. Even for Aces games, whether my teammates believe it or not, I used to be, and I guess they stick and stuff would know that I used to be a lot worse. But I've never been thrown out of a game, ever. I've only received one technical in basketball, and it's because I kicked a guy. And it wasn't because I was barking at the officials. But I think now that I coached last year and that they're guys far younger, that play Aces with me, I need to kind of somewhat be a role model. I guess I'm getting to that age. So
You're getting old.
Yeah. So yeah, it was. I'm competitive kind of through and through.